Welcome to Medicare School Daily, where we help you understand Medicare, save money, avoid mistakes, and above all else, get the most out of your Medicare benefits. Now, today's topic is, can I use my Medicare plan anywhere in the U.S.? Well, that really depends upon how you choose to use your Medicare benefits. Remember, when you go on Medicare, you only have two choices for using your benefits. One is to do an Advantage plan, the other is to do a supplemental plan. So depending upon which way you choose to use your Medicare benefits will determine how this question is going to be answered. And so let's deal first of all with that question as it relates to Advantage plans. Can you use it anywhere in the U.S.? Well, it really just depends upon what kind of care you need. If you're on an Advantage plan, if you find yourself in a situation where you need to go to an emergency room or you have to go to an urgent care type of a facility, the answer to the question is yes. Anywhere in America that takes Medicare, you can go and get care if you're on an Advantage plan in emergency or urgent care situation. Now, if you find yourself in a non-emergency situation, the answer to the question depends upon the network that you have selected with your Advantage plan, because there's two types of networks. We have HMOs and PPOs. And so if you're in a non-emergency situation, which means you'd like to go see a primary care doctor, maybe a specialist, maybe you want a second opinion, maybe you're going through cancer treatment or something like that. And if you're on an HMO, can you go anywhere in the U.S.? And the answer is no, okay? The only time on an HMO that you can get care outside the network if it's an emergency or urgent care. Otherwise, you have to stay in your network. You don't have out-of-network privileges, and that's what the HMO stipulation is. The restriction is that you must stay in your network unless it's emergency or urgent care. So, no, you can't. Now, the PPO plan, the answer is yes. So the way it works is this: if I'm on an Advantage plan and my network is a PPO, Preferred Provider Organization, you can go out of the network. But what happens is this: you're going to pay substantially more than if you were in the network. So out of the network, anywhere in the U.S., you can go, but you're going to spend about 40 to 50% of the Medicare approved amount expenses, and then they'll put a limit on that out of network in the neighborhood of about $10,000. So yes, you can go out of your network on a PPO. You'll pay a little bit more of a percentage because remember, if you're in your network, you would pay a very low percentage, but out of the network, you're going to pay more. And then, of course, that will max out at $10,000. So if the bill's $100,000, it won't matter. You would just have to pay the max that's set for out-of-network benefits for that year. All right, so that's the way it works anywhere in the U.S. if you're on an Advantage plan. Now let's suppose that you choose to stay in original Medicare and you get a supplemental plan or a Medigap policy to fill in those gaps that Medicare did not cover. So back to our scenarios, depending upon what situation you find yourself in. If you're in an emergency situation or urgent care, can you go anywhere in the U.S.? And the answer is absolutely yes. As long as that provider, that hospital, that doctor, that facility takes Medicare, you can go anywhere you want in the U.S. So yes. How about if we find ourselves in a non-emergency situation? Again, the answer is always yes. Okay, as long as the provider takes Medicare. Why is that? Well, remember the Advantage plan, we were restricted to what kind of network that we were in. But when it comes to original Medicare and supplemental plans, we have no network at all. Medicare is our network. So as long as that provider, the hospital, the doctor, the cancer facility, the urgent care, anywhere that would take Medicare is going to take our supplemental plan, because that supplemental plan is nothing more than the secondary payer. Medicare pays first, the secondary plan will pay after Medicare pays, and there's no network involved at all with supplemental plans, all right? And so that's the answer to the question if you have a supplemental plan. So can you use your plan anywhere in the U.S.? Just depends on the coverage that you have chosen for your Medicare benefits. To learn more, watch the related video or check out our most recent video. Also, be sure you click to subscribe for free and get notified every time we post a new video. To watch our complete Medicare workshop, go to MedicareSchool.com. And finally, when you're ready to compare all your insurance options and get free enrollment help from one of our Medicare School guides, call the number on the screen. See you next time.